Okay, let's shift gears. I know this is going to be quite the shift here, but I think it relates because you brought it up earlier, and you've already sort of answered this, but I'd like you to unpack a little more. The um, coverage of Jeffrey Epstein in kind of the mainstream legacy press, and this is going back to like the early 2000s, was pretty laudatory. He had these like laudatory profiles. He was connected to a lot of what we're seeing as kind of these like cultural cool guys, right? The new like corporate neoliberals. They've brought together like the identitarian promise of the 60s with the wealth of like the capitalism in a post Cold War era, and Jeffrey Epstein's right there in the middle. As the internet, emerged and we had the so-called social media, you saw a lot more criticism of that kind of analysis, especially after the sweetheart deal that Jeffrey Epstein received in 2007, 2008. And you had this kind of competing narratives, right? Where the news media consistently just dismissed these online conspiracies as a bunch of nuts online, and the internet continued to amplify this even really up through Donald Trump's first term. Trump was mocked a lot for playing into so-called internet conspiracies around Epstein and JFK and other issues we've talked about. And then seeing things really seem to change over the last year. Did you see that change? What do you make of it, and why do you think it's happening that now Epstein and Epstein files were being discussed in a serious way even before their release? And it was serious discussions that came to their release. What do you make of that?
It is bizarre, and I think that there are many possible interpretations to the strange things that we have seen lately. Epstein was I won't say he was completely out of the news such as it exists on the internet today and on social media sites and so on, but it wasn't. I mean, he came to office saying he was going to disclose all these things, and he didn't. And then it sort of died down a little bit, the controversy over it. But then one of the things that revived it was Rupert Murdoch's one of his papers writing about Epstein and his relationship to Trump. But the thing about this is that Murdoch is a Israel lobby guy. I mean, from the Israeli intelligence officer Ari Ben Menash recently pointed out that his first paper was essentially bought for him by Israel connected sources. So why was Murdoch the one reporting this? And I think that what this Israeli intelligence officer who was being interviewed by Afshin Ratansi on Going Underground, which is a RT show. I don't know if it's still on RT, but I think it may be. But he was saying that this suggests that this information is actually being used by the media to put pressure on Trump. So it could be that part of the reason that this has been highlighted in media and such is that the forces behind the Epstein network wish to actually put more pressure on Trump, knowing that he is implicated in these activities and that they have information which could potentially destroy him, quite possibly. And so it may be that some of what we're seeing here is actually, this is just a possibility, and I'm not saying that it's certain, and it's not, and different people would have different motivations to want to pursue Epstein disclosure. I mean, the Democrats now would seem to have a decent reason because it implicates Trump so much, but these other right-wing forces like Murdoch and such, it may be that the heat is being turned up about this in order to prepare for more war, potentially a bigger conflagration with Iran or something with Venezuela or who knows what. And I hope that this isn't the case, and I hope that it doesn't play out this way, because these would be such disasters from a position as a leftist, right, as a person who wants peaceful internationalism and the rule of law to prevail, but also even if you're just an American nationalist first and foremost, this is not good for the position of the U.S. in the world and for the U.S. hegemony, which I'm not in favor of. However, I think a gradual unwinding of this system of control and of the dollar's use as a stick to bully the world, this needs to be unwound kind of gradually. And so I think these military adventures that he might be being pressured to pursue would be disasters for the US.